We recently had a chance to speak to Lee Dixon earlier this week, and what he said rings very similar to what Tony said and Martin has said. Here's what went down with Mark Edwards. Take a listen to this.
The club look like they're going down at signing youth players. The ones they've signed in this window are all under 23s. So if that's the case, then that suggests to me they're going to give Arteta time, because these players are not going to turn it around tonight, next week, this season. It's going to take at least 2 years before you're seeing the best of them. Has he got 2 years? Well, I would suggest that they're thinking yes. But ultimately, there's always a breaking point. And he's got to get results now with what he's got, and enough results to keep the fans off his back and keep the owners happy and progress the project. If they don't get enough wins, the project will fall down, and then the club's even in bigger trouble than it is at the moment. That would be the ideal thing if they came out and the whole club said, right, this is what we're going to do. This is the plan. We're going to put all the kids in and give it a real go with kids and signing new talent. But it's going to take time, and they're going to make mistakes. Be vocal with that, but it's very difficult. They're spinning plates at the moment, trying to get results and keeping that, trying to get into Europe. So they need to sign some experienced players. They tried that last year with Willian, give him too much money, and a player that is, you know, character-wise, you would say he's not the right fit for Arsenal. But I don't know what the right fit for Arsenal is right now, because it's been too many years of looking for the captain, looking for character. I mean, they've thrown the armband around over the last few years to people that I would never give the armband to. So there's something going on there. So the club is in a real transitional period now, and it's very touch and go which way it goes.
Thanks there to Lee Dixon. A quick update. Some matches have kicked off. Brentford have scored inside the opening 6 or 7 minutes. Ivan Toney putting them 1-0 up at Villa Park against Aston Villa. But Lee Dixon there, do you agree with what he said, Alan? The characters in the dressing room? The leadership armband being tossed around like that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, mistakes have been made under Arteta, and I think that was bound to happen. He's a new manager. He's learning on his feet, and he's learning on his feet at a big club. So he's bound to make mistakes. I was surprised about the Williams signing. I think some people within the club said no. He's given his best. He's achieved all he has to in the game, and that's not the kind of profile we should be after. But I think he felt William was somebody that would be the final push into the Champions League. We know how that turned out. But it is going to take patience. And whether he gets the patience, as Lee says, you only get patience by getting results. And getting results at the moment looks pretty difficult. So nobody's got a divine right to be challenging at the top. Arsenal have, been floundering mid-table before. You go back to the late 70s, mid-80s, when they were never challenging. And, when the Invincibles were at the peak and Arsene Wenger was winning stuff, you could never have imagined that happening again. But football goes in cycles, and teams do go up and down. You just hope Arsenal don't sink to those levels that they have done in the past.
Quick update before we get your take as well, JMO. Leicester have scored. Jamie Vardy with Pereira assist as well against Norwich at Carrow Road. But, sorry, JMO, what do you think of what Lee Dixon mentioned there?
Yeah, Adam, just before we go anywhere, my cheering for Ivan Toney's goal wasn't that I wanted him to beat Aston Villa. It's just he's in my fantasy team.
Former Villa goalkeeper as well. Let's not forget.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I think what Lee Dixon, all his comments there were very interesting. And the one that sort of struck me was Arsenal potentially declaring that they were going to do a transition, put the youth team in, put the young players in, just so the fans knew what was going on. And again, the reason I found it very interesting was because my management in India was similar. We had a developing squad, but at no point were we really in a position to tell people what we wanted to do, because unfortunately, and I'm not just saying just in India, but especially with Arsenal, there is a very vocal element of Arsenal support on different social media platforms, which would absolutely lambast the club for going down that road, admitting that they're not going to win anything. And I think then the club have this difficulty in being able to actually declare the truth, which in itself becomes even more detrimental to the efforts, because everyone knows what's going on, but no one's admitting it. Like, I don't know if you agree with me on this, Alan. You've got to be so careful in what you're telling people you're trying to do, because most people don't want to hear it.
No, I mean, you're right. It's interesting you point out a certain section of Arsenal fans, and maybe that's a reflection of society. You know, they were slagging off Aaron Ramsdale before he's got his gloves on, you know, and this is an Arsenal player. You know, supporters are supposed to support, aren't they? But they don't bring any pride to the club at all, the way that they talk. So that is a factor. But I think sometimes you just got to stick to your principles, stick out your chest, and say what the project is, if you like that word, and say, yeah, we are going with youth because we can't afford to be buying ready-made players. We're buying potential. We're investing in that, and in 3 years' time, hopefully, we've got a team that can compete. You know, at the moment, as you say, that it's halfway, isn't it? Arteta kind of pretending almost in the media that they can improve with the players that he's got at his disposal, but he's not putting a time limit on it, is he? And if he did put a time limit on, people would lose patience with that.
I think, Alan, if I could just interject, I mean, what I find interesting, and again, it was just almost like the Sorcerer's Apprentice today. I'm sure that's been mentioned before with Arteta and Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola, when he likes a player, he brings him in, they get better. I'm sure there are many Man City players, and I can't think of any off the top of my head, who have been signed who have failed. Most of them have had little, sort of short-term improvement and probably been moved on. But the majority of them, talking about Jesus at the beginning of the show, he plays out right wing. Pep must have known he could do that, as I said. But what you're seeing when he's playing wide is he actually getting better. How many players in this short period of time has Arteta taken and improved? Because players like Saka or Smith Rowe are at that age where they're going to get better anyway. They're going to get more proficient. Is that Arteta's doing, or is that just a natural thing? And it's whether or not Arteta can actually make these young players better to actually give himself the chance to do the development that Arsenal are looking to.
No. Well, it's a good point, but of course you can't just do it with the young players. I mean, they have got some more experienced lads in there, and they need their help. But of course, from Guardiola's point of view, JMO, it's easy for lads to get better in a very good side, isn't it? And a side that's winning games. Whereas you're trying to teach these lads things in a side that's really struggling, and you're looking next year to more experienced teammates, and they don't really know which way to turn. So it's harder, isn't it, for Arteta to improve these lads?
It's a great point, but then again, I sort of bring back the analogy I bring back Pep's position. How many talented players, even like Aguero? I mean, if Pep was like a lovely bloke, and I'm sure he's nice, if he was a lovely bloke who liked his players, then Aguero would still be at Man City. Aguero would be able to get what he wants. Pep doesn't suffer fools. So in the end, even the experienced players, if they're not right for what he wants to do, he'll get rid of them or give other people the opportunities to play. And I think this is where I'm looking at Arteta, and you're talking about all these experiences, Ozil, whoever it might be. I mean, Ozil was probably a bad example, but players who have experience, who aren't pulling their weight, they're still allowed to be able to play the game. Whereas, again, if you're going to go with youth and that's going to be the long-term project, just push the older players aside. I know Luis, when his contract expired, but there's players there that you're talking about, which you would think under Pep, they wouldn't even be on the pitch.
Yeah,
that's true.
I think we've all seen Pep be ruthless when he wants to be. Joe Hart, his affinity with the club. Yeah. Claudio Bravo, who he bought, said, yeah, sorry, we're going to get Edison in, and it changed Manchester City after that as well. That's when they started winning trophies under Pep Guardiola. I think
of course, he's in a position of great power, Adam, isn't he, Pep? He's in a position of great power with his CV. He comes into the club. He's the man. And he, to a certain extent, can do what he wants, and people will tolerate that, won't they? Because they've got great faith in him.